The receipt fell from Sebastian's jacket pocket like a death sentence. A designer handbag, worth more than our monthly mortgage payment. My hands trembled as I stared at the crumpled paper, the price tag mocking me in bold black numbers. This wasn't meant for me. After 15 years of marriage, I knew exactly what that meant. I'm Selena, and 6 years ago I was a marketing executive at Morton & Blake, one of the top firms in Chicago. That was before Sebastian convinced me our family needed me more than my career did. Before I believed his promises about how we'd build the perfect life together. "Honey, you're working too hard," he'd said back then, massaging my shoulders as I prepared for another presentation. "The kids barely see you. We can live comfortably on my salary alone." The memory made bile rise in my throat as I carefully placed the receipt back in his jacket. The Sebastian who'd made those promises wasn't the same man who now spent 3 nights a week working late and password-protected his phone. "Mommy, can you help me with my science project?" Emma's voice floated up from downstairs, pulling me back to reality. My 10-year-old daughter, always so eager to learn. "Coming, sweetie," I called back, forcing cheerfulness into my voice. I'd gotten good at that. Later that evening, while preparing dinner, I heard Sebastian's key in the door. He walked in wearing his usual confident smile, briefcase in hand. The kids rushed to hug him. "How are my favorite people?" he asked, ruffling Tommy's hair. Our 8-year-old son beamed up at him. "Daddy, I got an A on my math test," Tommy announced proudly. "That's my boy," Sebastian praised, but his eyes were already on his phone. I stirred the pasta sauce, watching him from the corner of my eye. "How was work?" "Busy. Carter's pushing for the merger to close this quarter." He loosened his tie. "I might need to fly to Boston next week. Another business trip." They were becoming more frequent lately, along with the mysterious charges on our joint credit card that he always had explanations for. Restaurant bills for client meetings, hotel charges for conferences. "I made your favorite," I said, gesturing to the cooking pasta. Though I noticed we're running a bit low on our savings this month, Sebastian's shoulders tensed slightly. Most people wouldn't notice, but I'd spent years studying his tells. "Market's been volatile, nothing to worry about." My phone buzzed with a text from Heidi, my old colleague from Morton & Blake. We'd recently reconnected after years of distance. Sebastian had subtly discouraged most of my work friendships after I quit. "Want to grab coffee tomorrow?" her message read. "Important news to share." I typed back a quick yes, while Sebastian wasn't looking. The kids chatted about their day, but my mind was racing. The receipt, the missing money, the late nights. After dinner, I was loading the dishwasher when Sebastian's phone rang. He stepped onto the back porch to take the call, but through the kitchen window I could see his face light up in a way it hadn't for me in years. "I miss you too," he murmured into the phone, thinking no one could hear. "Just a few more weeks." My hands gripped the counter until my knuckles turned white. The perfect life he'd promised was built on perfect lies, and now the foundation was cracking. I thought about the woman on the other end of that call, wearing a designer handbag that should have been in our savings account. The old Selena, the corporate strategist who could read people like books and turn situations to her advantage, stirred somewhere deep inside me. She'd been dormant for years, buried under grocery lists and PTA meetings, but she wasn't dead. Sebastian's laugh drifted through the window, intimate and conspiratorial. He used to laugh like that with me. I dried my hands slowly, methodically, as a plan began forming in my mind. Tomorrow's coffee with Heidi would be interesting indeed. After all, she still worked at Morton & Blake. She might know things about the company, about recent hires, about who might be wearing expensive new handbags. "Everything okay, honey?" Sebastian asked as he came back inside, slipping his phone into his pocket. I smiled, sweet as artificial sweetener. Everything's perfect. He had no idea what was coming. Neither did I. Not yet. But for the first time in years, I felt truly awake. The coffee shop buzzed with morning energy. but Heidi's face was grave as she stirred her latte. "You might want to brace yourself for this," she said, glancing around before leaning closer. "Remember your old position at Morton and Blake?" "Of course." My stomach tightened. Hard to forget the job I loved. Well, you'll never guess who has it now. Heidi's fingers drummed against her cup. "Caitlin Green, started about 4 months ago." The name hit me like a slap. Caitlin, the same name I'd seen flash across Sebastian's phone more than once. I forced my voice to stay steady. "Tell me about her." "Young, ambitious, always wearing designer everything." Heidi's eyes narrowed. "And get this, she's constantly taking business trips to Boston, even though most of our clients are local." My coffee turned bitter in my mouth. Sebastian's upcoming Boston trip suddenly made perfect sense. "Show me," I whispered. Heidi pulled out her phone, scrolling through the company's internal directory. There she was, Caitlin Green, marketing executive. Long dark hair, perfect smile, couldn't be more than 32. My replacement in more ways than one. "Selena," Heidi touched my arm. "You've gone white." I pulled out my phone, hands shaking slightly, and opened our joint banking app. "Help me with something?" We spent the next hour tracking suspicious transactions, hotel charges in Boston, expensive restaurants, cash withdrawals that Sebastian had explained away as business expenses. "That bastard," Heidi muttered, staring at the screen. "Want me to do some digging at work?" "Not yet." I had a different plan forming. "What time does she usually leave the office?" That afternoon, I sat in my car across from Morton and Blake's gleaming office building, watching. At 5:45, Sebastian's black BMW pulled into the parking lot. My heart pounded as I raised my phone's camera. 10 minutes later, Caitlin emerged from the building. Even from a distance, I could see the handbag, the one from the receipt. Sebastian got out of his car, and their greeting was far from professional. The camera clicked rapidly as they kissed. "Got you," I whispered. My phone buzzed, a text from Sebastian. "Working late tonight, don't wait up." I typed back, "Okay, honey. The kids and I will miss you at dinner." Each word felt like acid. I followed them to an upscale restaurant downtown, one we used to go to for our anniversaries. Through the window, I watched them laugh, touch hands, share dessert. Sebastian was wearing the watch I'd given him for his birthday. "Mommy?" Emma's voice came through my earpiece. I'd called home to check on the kids with my Bluetooth. "When are you coming home?" "Soon, sweetheart. Just finishing up some errands." I swallowed hard. "Is Tommy doing his homework?" "He's playing video games." "Tell him to start his math problems. I'll help him when I get back." After hanging up, I sat there watching them for another hour. Every smile, every intimate gesture was another crack in my heart, another log on the fire of my rage. When they finally left the restaurant, Sebastian walked Caitlin to her car. I captured more photos, my hand steady now. They kissed goodbye like they'd done it 100 times before. They probably had. Back home, after putting the kids to bed, I opened my laptop and created a new folder. Evidence. The photos went in first, then screenshots of bank statements, restaurant receipts, hotel charges. My phone buzzed again. Sebastian. "Meeting running late. Might need to crash at a hotel near the office." I looked at the time. 10:30 p.m. Then I opened the tracking app I'd installed on his phone weeks ago when my suspicions first started. His location. The Grand Hotel downtown. "No problem," I texted back. "Stay safe." I pulled up the hotel's website. Standard room started at $200. The charges on our credit card were always for the $500 executive suite. My fingers hovered over the keyboard as I considered my next move. I still had access to my old professional email account. Morton and Blake never deactivated it. I also had contact information for several board members, including Carter, Sebastian's boss. A message notification popped up on my laptop. "Heidi, you won't believe what I just found in the company financial records. Call me ASAP." I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Sebastian had taught me well about the importance of family. Now he'd learn about the importance of loyalty. Opening a new document, I began to type, "Dear Mr. Burton." "You need to see this." Heidi's voice crackled through my phone as I paced my home office. Sebastian's been manipulating project budgets, moving money between accounts, inflating expenses. And guess who's been helping him? "Caitlin," I said, the name tasting like poison. "Bingo. They've been working together to siphon funds from major client accounts. We're talking serious corporate fraud here." I sank into my chair, mind racing. "Send me everything." "Already did. Check your email." Heidi paused. "Selena, this is bigger than an affair. This could mean jail time." My laptop pinged with her email. Spreadsheets, transaction records, falsified reports, all meticulously documented. Sebastian had always underestimated my financial literacy, never realizing I'd managed million-dollar marketing budgets before becoming a housewife. A door slammed downstairs. "Honey, I'm home." Sebastian's voice cheerful and confident. "In my office," I called back, quickly closing the laptop. He appeared in the doorway, loosening his tie. "Working late?" "Just organizing some PTA stuff." I forced a smile. "How was your meeting?" "Productive." He kissed my cheek and I caught a whiff of unfamiliar perfume. "The merger's looking good." "That's wonderful." I watched him head to the shower, waiting until I heard the water running before reopening my laptop. The evidence was damning. Sebastian and Caitlin had created fake vendor accounts, inflated project costs, and diverted the difference to private accounts. No wonder our family savings had been dwindling. He'd been funding their escape plan. My phone buzzed. A text from Laura, my sister. "You're being too quiet about this. Call me." I stepped onto the balcony, away from the shower's noise. "It's complicated," I told her when she answered. "Bullshit. He's cheating on you and stealing from you. What's complicated about that?" "The kids. We'll be better off with a mother who stands up for herself," Laura cut in. "Remember who you were before him? The woman who closed million-dollar deals. She's still in there." The shower stopped. "I have to go," I whispered. "Don't let him get away with this," Laura said before hanging up. That night I lay awake beside Sebastian, listening to his steady breathing. My phone lit up with a message from an unknown number. "Ms. Nichols, this is Jonathan Freeman, your former supervisor at Morton and Blake. Heidi suggested I contact you. We need to talk." My heart raced. Jonathan had been my mentor, the one who'd first spotted my potential. I hadn't spoken to him since leaving the company. "Coffee tomorrow?" I typed back. 9 a.m., the usual place. The next morning, after dropping the kids at school, I found Jonathan at our old coffee spot. 6 years hadn't changed him much. Same sharp eyes, same ability to read people like open books. "You look good, Selena," he said, sliding a coffee toward me. "Motherhood suits you. But you're wasted changing diapers and making lunches." He leaned forward. "I've been watching Sebastian's department. Things don't add up." I pulled out my phone, showing him the photos of Sebastian and Caitlin. "Neither does my marriage." Jonathan studied the pictures, his expression hardening. "You know, the board's been suspicious about some financial irregularities. They just haven't been able to prove anything." "What if they could?" He smiled, the same smile I remembered from when he'd mentored me through tough negotiations. "You always were my brightest student. What do you need?" "Access, information, and complete deniability." "Done." He pulled out a business card, writing a number on the back. "Call this person. She's an auditor named Aliyah. Tell her you're following up on my request." My phone buzzed. "Sebastian. Need to extend my Boston trip next week. Important meetings." I showed Jonathan the text. His eyes narrowed. "Interesting. The Boston office has been flagging unusual expenses lately." "How long before the board acts on solid evidence? For fraud this size?" Jonathan sipped his coffee. "Immediately." I thought about Sebastian and Caitlin, so confident in their perfect plan. About the missing savings, the lies, the years of manipulation. One more thing, Jonathan said as we stood to leave. Carter Burton, Sebastian's boss. He's looking for a new marketing director, someone with experience, someone who knows the industry inside out. Our eyes met, and for the first time in years, I felt the old fire burning in my chest. First things first, I said. I have some evidence to compile. Walking to my car, I called Heidi. Remember those financial records you found? Send everything to Aliyah in corporate audit. And Heidi, make it anonymous. The game was changing. Sebastian thought he was playing chess, but he'd forgotten who taught me how to win. Mrs. Nichols? Aliyah's voice was professional but warm, as we met in a quiet cafe far from Morton and Blake. Jonathan speaks highly of you. I studied the young auditor. Sharp suit, sharper eyes. What have you found? She opened her laptop, turning it toward me. Your husband's creative accounting goes back 18 months. See these vendor payments? They're being routed through shell companies. Shell companies registered to whom? That's where it gets interesting. Aliyah pulled up a document. A K Green appears as signatory on 3 of them. My coffee turned cold as we dug deeper. Sebastian and Caitlin hadn't just been stealing. They'd built an entire shadow operation within the company. My phone buzzed. Sebastian. Hey, beautiful, meeting's running late again. Of course they are, I muttered, ignoring the message. Aliyah glanced at my phone. You know, we've traced significant transfers to accounts in Boston. Regular payments, always following your husband's business trips. An escape fund, I said, the pieces clicking together. Exactly. And based on these patterns, she hesitated. They're planning something big, soon. Back home, I waited until Sebastian was in the shower before checking his laptop. He'd left it open, trusting his password protection. What he didn't know was that I'd installed a keylogger weeks ago. His emails loaded, and my blood ran cold. My love, one draft to Caitlin read, everything's almost ready. Once the merger closes, we'll have enough to start fresh. Just a few more weeks of playing pretend with the wife. I've already spoken to my lawyer about the divorce. A sound escaped my throat, something between a laugh and a sob. Mom, Emma stood in the doorway, clutching her teddy bear. Are you okay? I closed the laptop quickly. Just tired, sweetie. Bad headache. Daddy says you've been acting weird lately. My heart stopped. What else does Daddy say? That you're stressed. That maybe you need to see a doctor. She shuffled her feet. Are you sick, Mommy? The bastard was laying groundwork, painting me as unstable. I pulled Emma into a hug, breathing in her sweet shampoo scent. I'm fine, baby. Just busy with grown-up stuff. Later that night, Heidi called. Emergency, she whispered. I just overheard Caitlin on the phone with Sebastian. They're accelerating their timeline. What do you mean? The merger's closing next week, not next month. Sebastian's planning to transfer everything before anyone notices. Then, she paused, he's going to propose to her, Selena. He's already bought the ring. My hands gripped the phone so hard it creaked. Where are they now? Having dinner at La Maison. Want me to? No, I cut her off. I'll handle it. I drove to the restaurant, parking where I could see their table through the window. Sebastian was holding Caitlin's hand, that special smile on his face, the one that used to be mine. My phone rang. Jonathan. Aliyah's report just hit Carter's desk. He's calling an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning. Sebastian doesn't know. Not yet, but Selena... Jonathan's voice turned serious. Be careful. Men like him get dangerous when cornered. As if on cue, Sebastian and Caitlin emerged from the restaurant. I raised my phone, recording as they kissed goodbye. Then I watched Sebastian drive away, probably heading home to play the devoted husband. My phone pinged with an email from Aliyah. More documentation, more proof. But something caught my eye. A reference to our family trust. 20 minutes and several urgent calls later, my worst fears were confirmed. Sebastian had quietly amended the trust, ensuring I'd get nothing after the divorce. That's illegal without your consent, Laura raged when I called her. He can't. He already did. I watched Sebastian's headlights pull into our driveway through the kitchen window. But he forgot something important. What's that? I still have copies of the original trust documents. And tomorrow morning, the board of Morton and Blake is going to learn exactly what kind of man they've been trusting with their money. Sebastian walked in, smelling of expensive wine and Caitlin's perfume. Hey, honey, sorry I'm late. Complex negotiations, you know how it is. I smiled, thinking of the board meeting tomorrow, of Leah's report, of all the evidence carefully compiled and ready to detonate. Of course I do. How about some tea? You look tired. He kissed my cheek, not noticing how I stiffened. You always take such good care of me. That's what wives are for, I said sweetly, watching him head upstairs. Till death do us part. Or until tomorrow's board meeting, whichever came first. Sebastian's phone rang during breakfast, shattering our pretense of domestic tranquility. What do you mean, emergency board meeting? His face paled as he listened. I'll be right there. Everything okay? I asked innocently, spreading jam on Emma's toast. Just work stuff. He grabbed his briefcase, kissing the kids quickly. Don't wait up tonight. The moment his car left the driveway, I called Laura. It's starting. The kids can stay with me, she offered. You focus on burning his world down. I dropped the children at school, then parked near Morton and Blake's building. Heidi's text came at 9:15. Boardrooms like a funeral. Aaliyah's presenting the audit findings. At 9:45, Caitlin's sleek car screeched into the parking lot. She ran inside, designer heels clicking frantically. My phone captured every second. How's it going? I texted Jonathan. Carter's face is purple. Sebastian's sweating. Stand by. I waited, watching the building like a hawk. At 10:30, Sebastian stormed out, loosening his tie, phone pressed to his ear. Even from a distance, I could see him shouting. My phone buzzed. Caitlin calling. I answered silently. Where are you? She hissed. Everything's falling apart. They know about the accounts. Wrong number, I said softly, and hung up. Sebastian paced the parking lot, making call after call. I recorded everything, especially when Caitlin joined him 10 minutes later. How did they find out? She demanded, loudly enough for my phone to pick up. Keep your voice down. Sebastian grabbed her arm. We need to move everything now, before they freeze the accounts. Mr. Nichols! Carter's voice boomed across the parking lot. Get back inside, now. I watched Sebastian straighten his shoulders, plastering on his confident smile. But his hands were shaking as he walked back in. Heidi called at noon. Holy shit, Selena. They've suspended them both pending investigation. Security's clearing out their offices. What about the accounts? Frozen. All of them, including those secret ones in Boston. I smiled, starting my car. Time for phase 2. At home, I called our family lawyer. Remember those trust documents I asked you to review? I'd like to contest the changes immediately. Already drafted the paperwork, she said. Sebastian's amendments won't hold up in court, especially given the timing and lack of your consent. Perfect. And the other matter? Divorce papers are ready. Just say when. I was scanning the documents she emailed when Sebastian burst through the door at 3 p.m., face contorted with rage. You, he snarled. This was you, wasn't it? I looked up calmly. The kids are at Laura's. I don't care where the kids are. He slammed his hands on my desk. What did you do? Nothing you didn't teach me about family loyalty. His laugh was ugly. You think you're so clever? I built everything we have. You're just a housewife who got lucky. Really? I opened my laptop, turning it to show him the photos, the bank records, the trust documents. A housewife did all this? The color drained from his face. How did you... Remember when you convinced me to quit my job? To be the perfect wife? I stood slowly. You forgot what I did before. Who I was. What I'm capable of. They'll never prove anything, he said, but his voice wavered. They already have. Aaliyah's quite thorough. And Caitlin? I smiled. She's probably cutting a deal right now to save herself. His phone rang, Caitlin's name flashing. He ignored it. Oh, you should answer that, I said. Might be important, like how the board contacted the FBI about the wire fraud. Sebastian staggered back. You're bluffing. I pulled out a manila envelope. Divorce papers. Sign them now while you still have a pen that isn't prison-issued. You can't do this to me. I already did. I stepped closer. You thought you married a trophy wife. Turns out you married someone who learned from watching you destroy people's lives. I just paid attention in class. His phone kept ringing. Caitlin, his lawyer, Carter, all demanding answers. But Sebastian just stood there, staring at the evidence of his destruction spread across my desk. The kids, he finally whispered, will have one parent they can trust. I pushed the divorce papers toward him. Sign. Later, after he left with his signature on every page, I called Jonathan. Carter wants to meet you tomorrow, he said, about that marketing director position. I looked at the family photo on my wall, me, the kids, and Sebastian's smiling lie. Time to take it down. Tell Carter I'll be there, I said, after I drop my kids at school. Carter's corner office looked exactly as I remembered. Floor-to-ceiling windows, modern art, and the same intimidating presence behind the massive desk. Selena, he gestured to a chair, I believe we owe you a debt of gratitude. I just provided information, I said carefully. Aaliyah did the real work. Aaliyah followed breadcrumbs you strategically dropped. He leaned forward. Let's not play games. You orchestrated this entire exposure. My phone buzzed. Sebastian's lawyer. I silenced it. The position is yours if you want it, Carter continued. We need someone with your attention to detail. Before I could respond, his office door burst open. Caitlin stood there, mascara streaked down her face. You can't do this to me. I built this department. Security, Carter called, but I held up my hand. Let me handle this. I turned to face my replacement, in every sense of the word. Hello, Caitlin. She froze, recognition flickering across her face. You're Sebastian's wife, soon-to-be ex-wife. I smiled. But you knew that, didn't you? Just like you knew about the trust fund he tried to hide from me. He said you were unstable, she whispered, that you couldn't handle the pressure of corporate life. And yet here I am, while you're being escorted out by security. I nodded to the guards who had appeared in the doorway. Oh, and Caitlin, that Cartier bracelet he gave you last month. He bought it with my children's college fund. Her face crumpled as security led her away. Carter waited until the door closed before speaking. The FBI wants to interview you, he said, about Sebastian's activities. I'm happy to help. I pulled out my phone, showing him the recording from the parking lot. I have more evidence they might find interesting. My phone buzzed again, Laura this time. The kid's okay, I answered. They're fine, but Sebastian's here. He's demanding to see them. My blood ran cold. Don't let him in. I'm on my way. I stood, but Carter stopped me. Wait, there's something else you should know. He slid a folder across his desk. We found these while auditing Sebastian's files. Inside were documents showing an elaborate plan. Divorce papers dated for next month. Custody arrangements heavily in his favor. Psychological evaluations, suggesting I was mentally unstable. He was going to take my kids, I breathed. Not anymore. Carter's voice was steel. The board is pressing full charges. He won't be taking anything. I drove to Laura's house with my hands gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. Sebastian's car was in the driveway, and I could hear him shouting from inside. They're my children too, he yelled as I walked in. Daddy? Emma's small voice came from upstairs. Why are you yelling? Sebastian turned, seeing me. Tell them to let me see my kids. Lower your voice, I said calmly, pulling out my phone. Or I'll add threatening behavior to the restraining order I'm filing. You bitch, he snarled. You planned this all along. No, Sebastian, you planned this. I just beat you to it. I held up the folder from Carter. Looking for these? Your little custody plot. The fight drained from his face. How did you... Mum? Tommy appeared at the top of the stairs. What's happening? Nothing, sweetheart. Daddy was just leaving. I stared Sebastian down. Weren't you? He looked at our children, then at the folder in my hands, and something broke in his expression. Without another word, he walked out. Laura hugged me as soon as the door closed. You okay? No. I let out a shaky breath. But I will be. My phone buzzed with a text from Heidi. Caitlin's talking to the FBI, telling them everything. Then another from Jonathan. Carter's announcing your appointment tomorrow. Ready to come back? I looked at my children, still watching from the stairs. They deserved to know the truth, an age-appropriate version at least. Emma, Tommy, I called softly. Come here. We need to talk about some changes that are happening. They came down slowly, holding hands. I sat them on the couch, remembering how Sebastian had once convinced me to give up everything for them. Now, I would show them what real strength looked like. Mum, Emma asked, are you going back to work? Yes, sweetie. I pulled them both close. And I'm going to show you that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is start over. My phone buzzed one last time, Aaliyah. FBI wants to meet tomorrow at 9. Ready to finish this? I looked at my children, safe and secure, and typed back a single word. Ready? The FBI office was cold and sterile, but Agent Martinez's smile was warm. Mrs. Nichols, thank you for coming in. We've been reviewing the evidence you provided. I sat across from her, Aaliyah beside me, with stacks of financial records. What do you need to know? Everything, she said, pressing record on a small device. Start with when you first noticed the discrepancies. For 2 hours, we walked through Sebastian's scheme. The shell companies, the diverted funds, the falsified reports. Aaliyah's precise documentation backed every claim. My phone buzzed. Heidi. Sebastian just got escorted out by security. They're seizing his computer. Ms. Green has been very cooperative, Agent Martinez said, noting my distraction. She's provided some interesting details about property purchases in Boston. Property purchases? She slid over some photographs. A luxury condo overlooking the harbor. Purchased 6 months ago under one of their shell companies. Your husband made the down payment with diverted client funds. My hands trembled. 6 months ago, he'd told me we couldn't afford to fix Emma's braces. A commotion outside the interview room drew our attention. Through the glass wall, I saw Sebastian being led in by 2 agents. His usual confidence shattered. Selena, he called out when he saw me. Please, you have to help me. Think about the kids. I stood walking to the glass. I am thinking about the kids. That's why I'm here. I'll tell them everything was my idea, he pleaded. That you knew nothing. Just help me fix this. Fix it? I pressed my hand against the glass. Like you fixed our marriage, our family trust, our children's future. I did it for us. His eyes were desperate now. Everything I did was to give us a better life. No, my voice was ice. Everything you did was for you and Caitlin, in that condo in Boston. His face went slack. How did you... You're not the only one who knows how to follow a money trail. I turned to Agent Martinez. I believe you'll find the property deed interesting, especially the plans to transfer ownership next month. Sebastian slumped in his chair as the agents led him to another room. Through the walls, I heard him start to cry. My phone rang. Laura. You need to get home, now. What's wrong? Caitlin's here. She's hysterical, demanding to talk to you. I looked at Agent Martinez. We done here? She nodded. For now, don't leave town. I found Caitlin sitting on my front porch, designer clothes wrinkled, makeup smeared. Laura stood guard at the door, arms crossed. You won, Caitlin said as I approached. Happy now? Happy? I sat beside her. You helped my husband steal from our children. Happiness isn't part of this. He said he loved me. Her voice cracked. Said we'd start fresh, just us. While destroying everyone else, I pulled out my phone, showing her the trust documents, including his plans to take my kids. She stared at the papers, horror dawning. I didn't. He never said. Of course not. Sebastian only tells people what they need to know to play their part. I stood up. The FBI has the condo details, by the way, the one you picked out together. Oh, God. She buried her face in her hands. I'm going to jail, aren't I? That depends on how honest you are with them. I opened my front door. Now get off my porch. Laura hugged me as we watched Caitlin's car disappear. You okay? No. I leaned into her embrace. But for the first time in years, I'm free. My phone buzzed one last time. Jonathan, board meeting tomorrow. Time to reclaim your office. Mom! Emma and Tommy ran down the stairs. Can we have pizza for dinner? I looked at my children, really looked at them. No more lies, no more pretending, no more perfect family facade. Pizza sounds perfect, I said, and while we eat, let's talk about some changes happening in our lives. Is Daddy going away? Tommy asked quietly. Yes. I pulled them close. But not because of anything you did. Sometimes adults make bad choices and then they have to face the consequences. Like when I took Emma's tablet without asking. Something like that. I kissed his head. Just much, much bigger. Laura ordered the pizza while I sat with my kids, answering their questions as honestly as I could. About Sebastian, about my new job, about our future. Are we going to be okay? Emma asked. I thought about Sebastian in that FBI office, about Caitlin's tears, about the life they'd planned on the ruins of my family. We're going to be better than okay, I promised. We're going to be real. The morning sun streamed through my office windows at Morton and Blake as I reviewed the final settlement papers. Sebastian had pleaded guilty to all charges, accepting a reduced sentence in exchange for his cooperation. My phone buzzed. Agent Martinez. Caitlin's plea deal is finalized. 5 years probation, full restitution required. Mom? Emma poked her head in. Tommy's getting restless in the break room. I smiled at my daughter, now wearing the braces we could finally afford. Tell him just 5 more minutes, then we'll head to the courthouse. Heidi appeared in my doorway, holding a newspaper. Have you seen this? The headline read, Corporate Fraud Scheme Exposed by Executive's Wife. Below was a photo of Sebastian being led into court, and a smaller one of me at my desk. They got my good side, I joked, but Heidi's expression remained serious. Sebastian's asking to see you before the sentencing. My hand stilled on the keyboard. Why? He says there's something you need to know. I found Sebastian in a small conference room at the courthouse, wearing an orange jumpsuit that had replaced his designer suits. His face had aged years in just weeks. You look good, he said quietly. The job suits you. What do you want, Sebastian? He slid an envelope across the table. The original trust documents, the ones I hid. Everything's still there. The kids' college funds, your retirement account. I never actually transferred anything. Why not? Because... He swallowed hard. Because some part of me knew I'd never really go through with it. Leaving them. Leaving you. But you did leave us. Every time you met Caitlin. Every time you lied. I stood up. Every time you chose yourself over your family. I know. Tears filled his eyes. I destroyed everything good in my life because I wanted more. And now I have nothing. Not nothing. I touched the envelope. You have a chance to do one right thing. For the kids. He nodded slowly. Tell them I'm sorry. Tell them yourself, in your letters, your calls. Show them who you can be, not who you were. Outside the conference room, Tommy and Emma waited with Laura. Is Daddy going to jail? Tommy asked. Yes, sweetheart, but he's going to work on being better. The sentencing was brief, 8 years, with possibility of parole after 5. As they led Sebastian away, he turned back once, mouthing, I'm sorry, to our children. Back at the office, Carter was waiting with a bottle of champagne. To our new marketing director, who not only exposed corporate fraud, but increased our client retention by 15% while doing it. To Karma, Heidi added, raising her glass. To new beginnings, Jonathan said. My phone buzzed with a text from Laura. Kids are asking for pizza again. Family dinner at my place? I looked around my office, at the photos of my children now prominently displayed, at the degree I'd hung back on the wall, at the life I'd reclaimed. Actually, I told my colleagues, how about you all join us? My sister's ordering pizza, and I think we could all use a real celebration. Later that evening, watching Tommy teach Carter a video game, while Emma showed Heidi her art portfolio, I felt Jonathan sit beside me. You know, he said, when you left 6 years ago, I knew you'd be back. Just didn't know you'd return quite so spectacularly. Neither did I. I sipped my wine. But he underestimated me. They all did. Their mistake. Jonathan smiled. So, about that merger proposal from West Coast Digital. Already reviewing their numbers. I grinned. And this time, I can guarantee all the accounts are legitimate. My phone lit up with a message from Agent Martinez. Final restitution payment secured. Funds will be released to the trust tomorrow. Mom, Emma called. Tell them about how you caught Dad and Caitlin. Oh, no, I laughed. That's not a story for tonight. Then tell us about your new project, Heidi suggested, the one that's making Carter nervous. I looked at my family, both blood and chosen, gathered in my sister's living room. No more perfect lies, just beautiful, messy truth. Actually, I said, standing up, I have something better to tell you. I just landed us the biggest account in the company's history. As cheers erupted and questions flew, I caught Laura's proud smile across the room. She raised her glass slightly, and I raised mine in return. He thought I was just a housewife. Instead, I became the storm that washed away his lies and revealed my own strength. And now I was finally, completely free. So, I said, pulling out my laptop, who wants to hear about how we're going to revolutionize digital marketing? The future stretched before me, bright and honest and mine.